Make total sense, you idiot. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Oh, Kirky bringing out the cold hard facts. What about that? Me personally, and this is just me, I could never see myself doing this. This is the definition of going outside. This is like Celtic Shack. Well, here we are again, like a moth to the flame, Kirk Herbstreit that is. And I'm going to start the video by saying this. Kirk Herbstreit, my brother, what are you doing? It amazes me, it really does. And you guys would know this isn't the first time he's done this, because the first time he did it, earlier in the season, we talked all about it, I somewhat gave him the benefit of the doubt because, well, it was his first time. I like Herbstreit, I always have. I think he's one of the best in the game at covering college football, and for that reason alone, that's why I kind of chalked it up to, well, he'll learn from it. But apparently he has not. And why this is such an interesting case study to me is Kirk Herbstreit is a multi-gazillionaire. Why is he even speaking on this? For a guy at his stature, to be at the level where he's at in his life, to achieve all the things he's achieved, to lose your mind at a random troll on the internet, it blows my mind. Herbstreit, my man, if you somehow, someway see this video, I don't know if you need some validation. I don't know if you need somebody to tell you this, but I'll just tell it to you right here, right now. You are way better than this, and this is really just punching down at this point. And we all know this by now. The internet's a wild place. 99% of the stuff that people post on the internet is for clicks and views, and they want clout and they want attention. And although I think it's very weird to be chasing clout, and that's just a different conversation for a different day, what Herbstreit, why this, yet again, case study is so infatuating to me, is he's not doing that. He is genuinely not doing this for clout. He gains nothing from doing it whatsoever. And yet he continues to do it, and I'll give you my outsider perspective on it. Yeah, I think it makes him look worse. We got a lot to talk about, to say the least. Get you some popcorn, get you a snack, get your favorite meal you like to eat when you watch a video, because trust me, I do the same thing. We're not doing no intro, none of that. I don't got time to waste. We're getting straight into it. If you haven't picked up on it by now, the main subject, the main topic of this video is no other than Herbstreit. And I believe it was around, no. I was going to say 3 months ago, but it wasn't that long. It was only about, when did the rankings come out? About 2 months ago, I think. Yeah, something around that time frame. Whenever the final college football playoff rankings came out, that's when Herbstreit, for the first time ever in his career, started getting a lot of backlash, because he was one of the many people out there that was advocating that Alabama should have got in over Florida State. And I have to explain all this to you guys, because without context to the situation, you're going to be highly confused on what we're about to get into. Anyways, though, like I was saying, Kirk Herbstreit just made it evidently clear that he thought Alabama should have been in over Florida State, and as we all saw, they got in over them. It's not a big deal, though, that Herbstreit didn't think Florida State was better than Alabama, because a lot of people thought that, including myself. You guys know this. I stood 10 toes down this, and I will continue to stand 10 toes down this. As soon as Jordan Travis went down with that injury, I immediately dropped Florida State from number either 3 or 4 in my rankings to like number 8 or 9. And it's not that I didn't think Florida State was just not a top 4 or 5 team. I didn't even have him inside the top 7. But the only difference with me and Herbstreit was he continued to try to validate his point with random Florida State fans on the internet, most importantly, Twitter. So that was where we left off with this, and I'm not going to read off all of the old tweets because we already made a separate video doing that. Like I said, that was about 1.5, 2 months ago. All you need to know is Herbstreit, him and the Twitter trolls from Florida State, they've been going at it with one another, and that fan base does not like them. And now that I think about it, the one fan base that more than likely dislikes me the most is the Cinnamon Roll fan base, just due to I had to tell them the cold hard truth, which I don't mind doing. But here was the main difference. Whereas me and all these other analysts out here, we were giving our opinions on Florida State Bama, Herbstreit gave his opinion, and then he kept going at it with the trolls on Twitter. And I don't want to say I'm a genius or anything, but I can promise you this, and I wish whoever's running PR for Kirk Herbstreit would tell him this: going back and forth with trolls, haters, whatever you want to call them on the internet, that is a game, that is a battle you are never, and I mean you are never going to win. And just by responding to them in general, Herbstreit is letting them win, because that's what most of the trolls want. They just want a reaction out of you. I guarantee you 90% of the people that Herbstreit has been going back and forth with, they're screenshotting it and just showing all their friends saying, "Oh my gosh, look, Herbstreit responded to me." They're fans. I digress, though. Continuing along, yesterday, or it was late last night, in my For You feed. Nobody tagged this to me or sent it to me. I saw it in my For You feed on Twitter. I see Herbstreit yet again going at it with the trolls. And I didn't think too much about it until I saw multiple, not just one or two, but multiple tweets from Herbstreit. And I've only read about 2 of these, so I'm going to go to his profile and we're going to start to where all this happened. So pretty much, you're going to get my live reaction to all this, and I believe it started here when Herbstreit tweeted out something about Joe Montana, which I'm not going to read. Just something random about Montana, and somebody replied to it and said this. What are your thoughts on Steve Young as his backup? Should they have canceled the season when he game, or I think he meant to say when he went into the game for Montana? Hashtag hypocrite. Herbstreit winds up quote tweeting it and just puts the laughy face emojis. You know, that's not really a big deal whatsoever, but that was just a start. Somebody responds to that with a meme that says, nobody cares what you think, and Herbstreit quote tweets that and says, and yet you, in all caps, follow me. Have a great day, friend. Keep spreading that positive energy. World needs more of that, with the weird, you know, kissy face emoji thing. Another person responds and says, no one gives a crap what you say, Kirky. Hashtag Kirk sucks. And he quote tweets it and says this. And yet another stellar FSU fan who follows me but doesn't care what I have to say. Appreciate you. Then he got a FSU fan tweeting out a picture with Herbstreit with a clown nose, and he quote tweets that and says, isn't this tiring? You guys are the best. Go Noles. So by this point in time, we've got, what, is that 4 or 5 different tweets? I hope you don't think they are tired. Wait till Ireland, LOL, is going to pick up heavy. He responds, man, I hope so. I can't wait. Gonzo Ball, what a name, replies and says, is being a corporate shill for ESPN ever get tiring? And you can tell by this point in time, Herbstreit, it seemed like originally he was just kind of joking with him, but now you can tell they're getting under his skin. About that, ... In what way am I a shill? Seriously, how exactly am I or anyone at ESPN at shill, I think he meant to put a shill, when we have as much, if not more at stake with the ACC as the SEC? Such a JV/cloud narrative. Woo! Man, oh man, what do y'all think about that? Let's continue along here. Things are starting to heat up. You can just tell by every tweet, Herbstreit starting to get a little more pissed off. And hey, I ain't gonna hold you. I like it because it gives us something to talk about. Someone replies, when you become a sellout to be a part of the crook system, these images never get old, they tell the truth. Herbstreit quote tweets it, sellout to what? Ha 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 ha. Paul Mitchell responds, some guys have the hardest time admitting when they're wrong and keep doubling down. Can't you just go back to being Ben's dad, which is his dog, by the way? And yeah, Herbstreit didn't take a liking to that, to say the least. Check on what he had to say. Wrong for having an opinion after watching more football than anyone else in the country? I'm not entitled to having an opinion on who's the best 4 teams after watching 10 to 15 games live a week? So, if I thought FSU was one of the best 4, I'm a genius, quote unquote. But since I didn't, I'm a quote unquote fraud, sellout, shill. Make total sense, you idiot. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Oh, Kirky bringing out the cold hard facts. What about that? I'm just thinking back on it. All of this is stemming from Herbstreit not thinking the Seminoles were one of the best 4 teams in the country. It's crazy, and he's right. If he would have put them in, or in his rankings, theoretically speaking, if he would have put them in, they would have labeled him as a quote-unquote genius. That tweet went semi-viral. It got right at, or right over 2 million views, and everyone in the comment section, I'm not going to show you all the comments, but most people, they then turn the argument to, oh, well, how are you watching more football than anyone else if you're calling 1 game per week? Which does make sense, and I'd actually argue and say I watch more football than Herbstreit, just due to the fact while he's calling a game, he can't watch all the others. And for example, let's say he's calling an 11 a.m. game and it runs to 2:30. Well, I'm not just watching that one game. I'm watching 15 different games at 11 a.m. And that's what most people are saying, as you can see right here. If you're calling a game every week, I seriously doubt you watch more football than everyone in the country. And here's what Herbstreit responded. Watch 5 games in noon window, 5 in the 3:30 window, call a game at 7:30 while having 3 others on the bank of monitors. Then watch as much as the 10:30 games as I can. Why? Because I love it. Yet again, I'm going to go back to this. The fact that Herbstreit feels like he needs to prove himself to a random Twitter troll just blows my mind, man. It really does. I just don't understand what he gains from putting this out here, because Herbstreit, my man, my brother, we know how hard you work. And when I say we, I'm talking about people with a functional brain. You don't need to say what's already known. And some people view it differently, and they want to defend themselves, and they want to defend their honor and integrity. And I guess I get that, but like I said, going back and forth with these trolls, it's a battle you're never going to win. I'll give you a good analogy here to put it into a better perspective so people like me and you can relate. I don't know exactly where this was, but they was holding a race where it's for dogs. And one day they was like, you know what, we're going to put a cheetah in there to see how fast the cheetah is compared to the dogs and see how bad the cheetah can beat the dogs. And they had these dogs and the cheetah lined up behind a cage, and when they opened the cages for all the dogs and the cheetah to go to the finish line, all the dogs ran out, but the cheetah didn't. And everybody was asking the same question, well, why didn't the cheetah run out? Why didn't it try to win the race? Because to the cheetah, it's embarrassing to try to prove itself against dogs because the cheetah knows it's faster than dogs. Same thing here. It'd be the equivalent to me tweeting at LeBron James, hey LeBron, I know I'm better at basketball than you. Let's one-on-one right now. I know you can't beat me. Well, LeBron James knows dang well he's better than me at basketball. So why would he even give me the time of day? You see what I'm saying? When you're confident in yourself and you know you're better than someone or something, it's actually embarrassing to try to prove yourself right. But let's continue along here, shall we? Because there's more to this. This was the final thing Herbstreit said, and it was his final lash out on the situation. Didn't even respond to anybody, he just tweeted this out for himself. No matter how hard this lunatic fringe portion of the FSU fanbase tries, I refuse to hold this against the Noles and their real fans. Been a fan of the Noles team since the early days of Bobby Bowden in the early 80s, and will continue to respect that brand and its tradition for as long as I'm covering college football. See you in Ireland, week 0. Somebody said, you pissed off the entire FSU fan base and you only make it worse by keep bringing this up. And that person's right. Herbstreit, shut up, okay? That's the only way to fix this. By you continuing to bring this up when the season's over, it's not even a relevant topic, it does make it worse. Because for the vast majority of Florida State fans, they've already forgot about why they're mad at Herbstreit, but then he continues to tweet about it and bring it up, and they're like, oh yeah, that's why I was mad at Herbstreit, so let me get pissed off again. It's just like, dude, shut your mouth, or in this case and scenario, get off of Twitter. I can't imagine being this even interested in what trolls or other people have to say about me, especially at that level that Herbstreit's at. I wish I could take credit for this, but I can't, unfortunately. I saw this somewhere years ago, and I don't know where I saw this, but I always think about it when I see situations like this come up. I saw somewhere where it was a quote saying that too many people love you to be concerned with all the people that don't like you. Same thing with Herbstreit. I'd say at bare minimum, 98, it's more so probably 99% of the people out there, they like Herbstreit. But yet, instead of focusing on the people that like you, you're bringing up the people that hate you, the 1%. Me personally, and this is just me, I could never see myself doing this. This is the definition of going outside. This is like Celtic Shack. For Herbstreit, here's how I look at it. Your career as a broadcaster has been too great to be doing all this at the end of it. And I think the problem with all of this is Herbstreit has really never received any hate before up until this point. He's always been one of the most likable guys out there. Now that he's receiving a little bit of hate, it's almost like he's in panic mode. He don't know how to handle it. And I know exactly what he's doing. He's doing a terrible job at it, by the way, but this is what he's doing. Damage control. It's not working, but he's attempting to do it, and here's a cold hard truth about all of it. In this industry, in this business, whatever you want to call it, granted, I'm nowhere even close to Herbstreit's level, but the principles, they're the same. When you're speaking on a situation that was big as Florida State not making the playoff, and you know you're going to have a controversial opinion about the situation, you got to stand 10 toes down on it. And guess what? Kirk Herbstreit, he was an offense sitter. I applaud him for it, and he did that. He has still stood 10 toes down on that. So check mark for step number 1. But the problem is, and he failed the other important part to this, which is step number 2, he wasn't prepared for the backlash that he was going to receive. Whereas I knew when I said Florida State shouldn't have even been in the top 7 or 8, I was going to get backlash. But like I said, I knew it was coming. And Herbstreit's trying to convince the Florida State fans. He's even tweeted about it. Look, I know y'all think I hate you, but I really don't. To all the real Florida State fans, y'all know I love you guys. And I hate to keep bringing myself back up, but it's a great comparison. For me, I'm not trying to convince Florida State fans to like me. Don't care. Do you know how many comments I was receiving daily and people tweeting at me daily saying, oh, this guy might be great. He lives to hate on Florida State. He hates the program. He hates the university. He hates all the players, blah, 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 etc., etc. Do you know how many people was saying that to me? And if I were to respond to any of it, which I didn't, here's the only thing I could say. If you honestly believe for a split second I have some hidden agenda against Florida State and I have it out for them, I don't even know what to tell you. I don't even have the energy to argue with you and try to convince you I don't. It's the same thing with the cheetah racing the dogs. It's embarrassing trying to even explain myself and trying to win the argument. On the flip side for Herbstreit here, and I'm starting to somewhat feel bad for him, he just doesn't know how to handle it. And the best way to handle it is to not handle it. Let's just be serious here, okay? Let's be for real. Herbstreit is living the dream. I don't know what his net worth is, but like I said, he's a multi-gazillionaire. Probably got some smoking hot wife. He could get any girl he wants. He talks about college football for a living. Has a nice dog. I assume he has a nice family. I don't know too much about his personal life. And he's flying on freaking PJs. He doesn't even fly commercial. He's flying on PJs to college football games. As normal people like me and you, we save up every single penny to go to one game a year, and Herbstreit's getting paid to do that. You're pretty much a king at this point in life, and you're worried about what some peons and peasants are saying about you. Same thing if I tweet at LeBron James. I'm a peon. I'm a peasant compared to LeBron. Therefore, LeBron ain't responding to Matt B. Great because he understands it. Herbstreit just doesn't, and I can't emphasize this enough. I wouldn't even be making this video if he just responded to 1, 2, or 3 tweets, but the fact he's tweeted out 15 times at trolls the past 16 hours, it goes to show you they're getting under his skin. There's many more things I could say, and I do apologize. We made this video super long, but I just find it such an interesting topic. Let me know your thoughts on all this down below. But,